It seems like we're getting closer and closer to the results of the whole AEW all-out media scrum. We're going to talk about it in this video as well as other news stories. As always, timestamps in the description down below. I actually want to kick things off with Sasha Banks. The reason for this is because Sasha Banks posted a photo on her Instagram stories, and it looks like Sasha Banks is teasing a return to pro wrestling. Now, obviously, throughout the last few months, a lot of people have been curious as to what the hell is happening with Sasha Banks, and this is largely due to the fact that we know that she's been listed internally on the WWE roster. Then, of course, there's been the tweets and the name changes on social media. You know, Mercedes Varnado, then Sasha Banks, WWE. Obviously, a lot of people are curious as to what is happening. And I think when you look at the optics of absolutely everything that is happening here, especially with Sasha Banks posting the photo on IG, I think WWE is just waiting for the right time for Sasha Banks to return. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense. Right now, there's been a lot of returns, a lot of things happening. WWE has a lot of storylines happening within the women's division, both on Raw and SmackDown. I think Sasha Banks being in WWE, it's the most likely outcome based on everything we know thus far. But now there's a lot of talk about WWE and the Bullet Club and this potential, you know, the OC versus the Judgment Day Survivor Series War Games, like who is going to be the mystery female. And I think if you're WWE and you really want to highlight Sasha Banks, I think right now you need to bring her in as a singles star. And you might be wondering, well, what does that mean for Naomi? Well, I believe Naomi should be as part of the bloodline, to be honest with you. That's actually exactly what I think should happen for Naomi. I think they did a great job as a tag team, and I wouldn't mind seeing them in the women's tag team division. But right now, when you look at the potential opportunity for WWE to have Sasha Banks join the OC in War Games, being part of such a historic match, and take out Rhea Ripley, I think it creates a lot of potential storylines there, and I think it makes the most sense for WWE in this situation. I also think it makes a lot more sense for Sasha Banks, for the long-term plans for her on WWE. And then again, when you put Naomi in the bloodline, I think them having Naomi makes a lot of sense. And I think it would be really good for WWE to kind of acknowledge some of the wrongdoing that, Vince McMahon's regime had with Naomi, and her joining the bloodline could be something that Roman Reigns put together himself as being part of head of the table. And by him doing so, I think that can create some very compelling TV. So that's what I would like to see out of it. But Sasha Banks clearly returning soon. Should be very interesting to see how that goes. I want to talk a little bit about CM Punk. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about CM Punk right now, and we know about the talks that we've had before on the channel in regards to CM Punk possibly getting a contract buyout with AEW and stuff like that. But now, what's really interesting is there are a lot of people talking about this specific clip that is floating around on social media where Dave Meltzer was talking about how it feels like the investigation is wrapping up. And because of this talk about the investigation wrapping up, obviously a lot of people are talking about the contract buyout. A lot of people are talking about whether he would go to WWE. It's a very, very strange situation because Wade Keller basically came out recently and said that CM Punk kind of alienated himself from the AEW locker room. He believes and speculates that others in the AEW locker room believe that Punk would bring a level of tension to AEW that they hadn't been able to grasp, which led to many, put up all of these different, like almost like a reservation, because AEW really didn't grow that much with CM Punk, if that makes sense. Because of this, Punk carried less sway in the locker room, which had factions, but was largely a great place, right? There was some jealousy of his rumored salary, upwards of $3 million per year, with some wrestlers thinking their spot on the card moved down a notch, and their potential push was delayed a year or two because of him. John Moxley has made it clear he wanted to be an alpha top guy. Cody Rhodes wanted that. He saw himself as that. Kenny Omega obviously initially was seen as being that. So it's a very, very interesting situation when you look at CM Punk. And then, of course, this talk about CM Punk coming to WWE, whether WWE is interested or not, I find this to be also interesting because in WWE, you never say never, but there's a lot of people trying to add to the rumors right now that Paul Levesque is interested in bringing in CM Punk. Now, there is nothing that I have seen that truly indicates Triple H would be interested in this. And there's also nothing that I have seen where CM Punk there's any indication that he would be interested in WWE's return. But if you're looking at a contract buyout, if you're looking at everything here, with AEW people not necessarily being too thrilled about Punk in the company, then it also makes a lot of sense as to why Tony Khan reportedly was siding with the Elite, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks. So this is like a really, really interesting situation because, Meltzer kind of came out and said, there's a lot of people internally who don't really miss CM Punk. So if you're the WWE and you have this momentum that you're growing with your product, do you really want to waste your time bringing in CM Punk? I mean, that is just something that you have to consider. If you are the WWE, are you going to waste your time? Are you going to potentially ruin your backstage environment? Which right now, if I had to assume, and again, this is just an assumption, but if I had to assume, it's probably the best it's been in freaking years. So I just feel like WWE is willing to do anything to make the fans happy, but I'm not sure if CM Punk is that guy. And just based on what we've seen from him in AEW, it's not like he completely changed the game for AEW. So I don't know if WWE would want CM Punk back. And trust me when I tell you guys this, one thing that was very interesting, Wade Keller came out and said somebody who's currently in WWE and is within the sphere of influence of Paul Levesque and his decision making, it would be a hard no as of me asking this person today. So this idea that people want CM Punk in WWE, I'm not really sure if it exists, but I don't think it's likely. And speaking of the Elite, we got to talk about it, right? Because we're talking about CM Punk, we're talking about AEW. There is this belief that the investigation is wrapping up. And because there is this talk about the investigation wrapping up, obviously a lot of people are wondering what the hell is happening. So it appears that the Elite are coming back to AEW. Now, whether or not they're going to be immediately shot into a very big storyline or whatever it may be, I don't know. We don't know AEW's plans, but there is this belief right now that the Elite are coming back to AEW. There is this belief that AEW wanted the Elite back as they feel the Elite is pretty much like a big part of the company and the vision and everything the company is. And it makes a lot of sense, right? The company is pretty much named after them. I don't know what else to say here. The Elite, AEW, All Elite Wrestling. I mean, it's a formation because of the Elite. So, look, here's the thing. We don't know anything about this investigation. The idea is that it's wrapping up. The idea is that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are returning soon. I'm all for them returning, but if this is detrimental to other people's pushes, if this is going to get in the way of AEW creating new stars, I'm not really interested in anybody returning. So I hope AEW brings them back the right way. I hope Tony Khan gets this right. And yeah, I want to let you guys know right off the rip, this is going to be a very interesting and testing period of time for AEW. Specifically, after everything that went down, this can cause some issues for people backstage if these guys are immediately pushed over other people. And I think Tony Khan's number one concern should just be making sure everybody's happy. And you got to figure out a way to do that. And not everybody's going to be happy, obviously, but I'll be happy when they return. And hopefully AEW could just move on from this and we never have to talk about it again. Let me know what you guys think down below.